Today I'd like to show you the method I use to hang my miniature origami cranes to create my mobiles and the shorter decorative strands that I sell in my Etsy shop without using any glue. There are two methods, one with and one without. This is the method without. The first tip I would like to demonstrate before actually hanging is that I literally tie my thread to the needle. This is a larger needle than I normally use, but I'm using it just for the sake of making this demonstration easier to follow. So twice, it's 2 loops, and now it'll be set on there and I won't have to worry about it slipping off during the stringing process. The needle I usually use is called a sharp or a quilting between. It's smaller, which of course works better given the small size of the cranes. The process is very simple. I fold the crane, I open the crane. Right there in the center of the crane's back, I push the needle through. Now, once I push it through, it is going to come straight out the bottom of the crane because there's a hole that naturally occurs on the underside of every crane, which makes this process easier because you don't have to try to aim to bring it out the middle. I set the crane on the line where I would like it to be. I pinch it in place like this, pull the thread taut, and then I push the needle just over the point, sorry my hand's in the way, just over the point where the angular fold line meets the vertical fold line. I'll put a close-up of that in the post. I go through the same hole a second time, coming straight out the other side, like that, and then I'm going to do it a third time, but this time I take the thread, I draw it over the tip of the needle so it catches, and that is going to lock that crane in place. If I really want to secure it, I can take the needle like this and I put it under the thread, bring it back out the top side like that. I draw it through, catch the needle in the loop once again, and now that is a knot and that crane isn't going to go anywhere. I take the next crane, open it part way, spot the center of the back, push it through, come straight out the bottom again. But this time I'm going to use a measuring guide to make sure that every crane is the same distance apart as the next one. When I do the mobiles of 1,000, there might be 30 or more cranes per strand, and I want them to be the same length. So what I do is the bottom of the measuring guide sits on the top of the back of the lower crane and directly beneath the center of the top crane. Let me see if I can open this up to kind of show you. So this is how I want it to be, like this. That way they'll all be equidistant to each other. I then pinch the crane, holding the thread in place so that it doesn't shift and change position. And then it's just the same process of going through to the other side once, twice. A third time, catching the loop, the needle. And then that same process of going under those 2 stitches, coming out the other side of them, catching the thread, and pulling, and it's knotted. Now, if I was going to do 30 cranes or just 2, the finishing process is still the same. When you're done with the line with that particular strand, I take the needle and I push the point back up into that hole, but instead of trying to come out through the top of the crane, I want the needle to come out right here in between the wing and the body. So I set it in that little hole, and then I just kind of ease it at an angle so that it comes out in between like this. This way I'm not going to have a loose thread end when I trim the thread off. I'm not going to cut it flush to the paper because I want a little bit of that thread left in place so that it doesn't go back down and out the hole, like that. And then I can open the crane up. It hides that little end to the thread. And that is how I hang the cranes without using any glue. If you have any questions about other tutorials you would like to see, please feel free to leave them in the comments or send me a message. I'd also like to take just a moment to thank my Patreon patrons for supporting this endeavor and allowing me to share the techniques that I have learned and use. I appreciate your support so much. Thank you for dropping by the studio today, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Bye.